American doctors are accusing U.S. health insurance giants of causing deadly delays to vital medical procedures and care, and putting profits ahead of their patients' health. Firms including United Healthcare have denied basic scans, and taken months to reconsider. But in a series of interviews, medical professionals described their frustration with a powerful industry which had prevented them from helping patients. Vanessa Carter was used to uncovering corruption. As an investigative journalist, she had spent the last decade exposing fraud, cover-ups, and scandals. But when she opened her inbox that morning, she had no idea she was about to step into the most dangerous story of her career. The email was cryptic. "They are letting people die. I have proof. We need to meet. Dr. Malcolm Reed." Dr. Reed was a name she recognized, a well-respected oncologist with a reputation for standing up to corporate greed. If he was reaching out, something was seriously wrong. Vanessa wasted no time. She replied, setting up a call for that evening. When the phone rang, his voice was tense. "They're denying treatments on purpose," he said. "They stall, reject, and appeal claims until it's too late. Cancer patients are dying because it's profitable." It was a bombshell accusation. Vanessa knew that insurance companies sometimes denied claims, but this was something else. A calculated scheme. A death sentence disguised as bureaucracy. Dr. Reed wasn't alone. He directed Vanessa to Elliot Sloan, a data analyst at Provident Health, one of the country's largest insurance providers. Elliot had been quietly gathering evidence for months. Their first conversation was brief but chilling. "I have internal emails, rejection quotas, everything. They call it denial for delay. If a patient dies waiting, that's money saved. I can prove it." Vanessa's pulse quickened. This was huge. Elliot agreed to meet in person, away from prying eyes. They scheduled a time. A location. But Elliot never showed up. When Vanessa called, his phone went straight to voicemail. She tried again. And again. Nothing. Feeling uneasy, she drove to his apartment. The door was ajar. Inside, drawers were yanked open, papers scattered. His laptop was missing. So was Elliot. She reported him missing that night. The police treated it like another adult who probably just left town. Vanessa wasn't convinced. Elliot had sounded scared. And now, he was gone. If you're new to True Crime series, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button and turn on notifications. We bring you the real stories, the cases that demand to be heard and the voices that deserve justice. This is a case you won't want to miss. Dr. Reed was just as alarmed. "They got to him," he whispered. "We're in danger." Vanessa refused to back down. She scoured the emails Elliot had sent her before disappearing. The language was cold, clinical. Claim denied. Lack of medical necessity. Appeal extended. Additional documentation required. Request delayed. Waiting for patient response. Innocuous on their own. But attached to names, dates, medical records? It painted a horrifying picture. Patients diagnosed with aggressive cancers were being delayed, stalled, denied. Some of those names had obituaries attached. One case stood out. A woman named Laura Hendricks. Stage 4 breast cancer. Her treatment had been denied 3 times. She died 6 months later, still waiting for final approval. Vanessa called her husband, Tom Hendricks. He had no idea why an investigative journalist was reaching out. But when she explained the pattern, his voice broke. She was healthy before this. The doctors said she had a fighting chance, if she started treatment immediately. She never got the chance. The deeper Vanessa dug, the more she felt eyes on her. A black SUV parked outside her apartment. The same unfamiliar man at her coffee shop 2 days in a row. Then, the email arrived. "Stop digging, or you'll disappear too." She froze. Her hands shook as she forwarded it to Dr. Reed. His response was immediate. "We need to talk. In person. Tomorrow. Noon. No phones." Vanessa agreed. But when she arrived at the meeting spot, a quiet bench in a public park, Dr. Reed was nowhere to be seen. Instead, a police car was parked nearby. Officers swarmed the area. A body was being wheeled away. Dr. Malcolm Reed. Dead. Vanessa's stomach twisted. She wanted to run. She wanted to scream. But she forced herself to stay still, watching the scene unfold. She knew better than to rush forward. The police would ask questions. She needed answers before they did. Taking a deep breath, she turned on her heel and walked away, keeping her head down. Once she was a safe distance from the crime scene, She called Tom Hendricks. "Malcolm's dead," she whispered. Silence. Then a shaky breath. "Do you think it's connected?" "I don't think." "I know." Her mind raced. Elliot had vanished. Now Malcolm was dead. She was next. She needed to go somewhere safe. She needed help. Vanessa made one more call. An old friend. "Marcus, it's me. I need a favor." A pause. Then a deep, knowing sigh. "Where are you?" Vanessa met Marcus at a rundown diner just outside of town. A former private investigator, he had been her source on multiple stories. He was the kind of man who could disappear if he needed to. Right now, she needed that skill set. She slid a flash drive across the table. "This is everything I have." Marcus plugged it into his laptop, scrolling through files. His face darkened. "Jesus. This is worse than I thought." Vanessa leaned in. "Can you help me trace the emails? Find out who sent the threat?" Marcus didn't answer right away. He just kept typing. Then, he frowned. "Who else has seen this?" "Just me and Malcolm." He shook his head. "No. Someone else has been in these files. And they left a trail." Vanessa's blood ran cold. "Who?" Marcus turned the screen toward her. The name on the access log sent chills down her spine. Elliot Sloan. Vanessa's breath hitched. "But that's impossible. Elliot is missing." Marcus' expression was grim. "Then we're either dealing with someone using his credentials." He hesitated. "Or Elliot isn't missing at all." Vanessa Parker had covered a lot of stories in her career, but this one was different. It wasn't just about corruption, it was about life and death. The deeper she dug, the more it became clear, Elliot Sloan hadn't just stumbled onto an insurance scandal. He'd uncovered something far worse. Elliot had been tracking something before he vanished. Vanessa followed his digital footprints, combing through his emails, his notes, even old forum posts. What she found sent a chill down her spine. A dossier, half-finished, but damning. Internal emails from Provident Health executives discussing claim mitigation strategies. A cold, clinical phrase masking something insidious, a deliberate system designed to delay, deny, and ultimately, let people die. Vanessa needed more. She reached out to families, dozens of them. They all told the same story. It always started the same way. A devastating diagnosis. Cancer, heart failure, rare disorders. But they had insurance. They thought they were covered. Then, the first rejection letter arrived. A mistake, the families assumed. A clerical error. They appealed. More delays. More paperwork. And then, just when approval finally came, it was too late. Their loved ones had died waiting. "They weigh you down," one grieving father told her. "They bet on you giving up or running out of time. And they win." Vanessa's stomach churned. This wasn't incompetence. It was intentional. Dr. Reed had been reluctant to talk, but the horror in his eyes told Vanessa everything. "I saw patients deteriorate, knowing if they had gotten treatment sooner, they'd still be alive." He shook his head. Elliot knew. He was chasing something big. But he got too close. Reed introduced her to Clarence Mitchell. Clarence had once been an analyst at Provident Health. Smart, quiet, and fired the moment he asked the wrong questions. "They called it an efficiency algorithm," Clarence said. "Martin Carlisle designed it. The software flags high-cost claims and auto-denies them. Most people don't fight it. The ones who do? The system drags it out." "Until they die," Vanessa whispered. Clarence nodded. "By the time they approve treatment, the damage is done. Carlisle built a business model around it." Vanessa's hands trembled as she took notes. Carlisle wasn't just another greedy executive. He was playing God. And Elliot had been about to expose him. The threat started small. A strange car outside her building. An anonymous email, "Stay out of it." Then, it escalated. Her apartment? Ransacked. Drawers pulled out. Files scattered. But nothing stolen. A warning. Her car? Brake lines cut. She barely made it out of the parking garage. Someone didn't just want her to stop. They wanted her gone. Vanessa wasn't scared. She was furious. Someone had murdered Elliot Sloan to keep this secret buried. And she was about to dig it all the way up. The package arrived without a return address. Just a plain, unmarked envelope, slipped under Vanessa's door in the dead of night. Inside, an untraceable USB drive. Her hands shook as she plugged it into her laptop. The screen blinked to life. Folders. Files. A name stood out immediately. Elliot_Sloan_dossier. She clicked. Thousands of documents. Emails. Internal memos. Spreadsheets detailing deliberate delays, cold calculations of human lives turned into numbers on a balance sheet. The deeper she scrolled, the more the truth surfaced. Martin Carlyle wasn't just complicit. He was the mastermind. A strategy laid bare, auto-deny claims. Delay appeals. Watch patients die. Provident Health had saved billions, at the cost of thousands of lives. Then, another shock. A video file. She clicked, and Elliot Sloan's face filled the screen. Gaunt. Eyes darting, paranoid. If you're seeing this, it means they haven't found me yet. But they will. Vanessa's breath hitched. Elliot was alive. Tracking him down wasn't easy. He'd buried himself deep, off the grid, like a ghost. But Vanessa had connections, and desperation made her relentless. A burner phone number. A cryptic message. A meeting in an abandoned warehouse. When she finally saw him, he looked like a man who had seen hell. They tried to kill me, Elliot said. Not just some corporate hitmen. These guys were pros. Ex-intelligence. Black Ops. I'm talking government-level cover-up. This goes way beyond Carlyle. The words felt too big, too dangerous. But they rang true. Provident Health wasn't just a corrupt insurance company. It was protected. Vanessa knew she had to move fast. The story was ready. The proof was undeniable. She scheduled the release, morning headlines. By dawn, the world would know everything. Then, the counterattack came. Provident Health issued a preemptive statement. They accused her of spreading misinformation. Called Elliot Sloan a disgruntled ex-employee with a history of paranoia. Labeled the documents fabricated. And then, the final blow, her sources began vanishing. Families who had spoken to her stopped returning calls. Dr. Reed's office was emptied overnight. Clarence Mitchell's apartment? Abandoned, like he'd never existed. And Elliot? Gone. She barely saw the SUV before it slammed into her car. Metal crunched. Glass shattered. The world spun. Vanessa's vision blurred as she fought for control, but the road was slick, the tires useless. She skidded off the highway, the guardrail exploding into sparks as her car plummeted down the embankment. Darkness. Pain. Then silence. She woke up in a hospital bed, head throbbing, ribs screaming in pain. A nurse whispered that she was lucky to be alive. But Elliot wasn't. This time, he was gone for good. And Vanessa? She wasn't just fighting Provident Health anymore. She was next. The story exploded like wildfire. Vanessa's report shattered the internet. Millions watched. Millions shared. The outrage was deafening. Congress promised action. Hearings were scheduled. Investigators swarmed Provident Health's headquarters. But then, the cracks started showing. Key evidence? Lost. Emails. Financial records. Internal memos, gone. Servers mysteriously wiped just days before subpoenas were issued. Vanessa's sources? Discredited, one by one. Dr. Reed? Stripped of his medical license. A bogus malpractice claim ended his career overnight. Clarence Mitchell? Vanished. His apartment emptied. His phone disconnected. No trace, no goodbye. Like he never existed. And Martin Carlyle? He didn't face trial. Didn't even see the inside of a courtroom. Instead, he resigned. Walked away with a $50 million golden parachute. Provident Health paid a fine. A slap on the wrist. Stock dipped, then rebounded. Business as usual. No one went to prison. Vanessa watched it unfold, numb with rage. She had given everything. Risked everything. And yet, the people responsible walked free. Justice wasn't blind. It was bought. But this wasn't the end. Not for her. Somewhere out there, another story was waiting. Another truth buried. Another monster hiding behind wealth and power. Vanessa wasn't done digging. Because if the system wouldn't deliver justice, she would. As Vanessa walks away from the courthouse, her phone buzzes. An anonymous message appears. You exposed one scheme. Ready to see how deep this really goes? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. And if this story shocked you, like and subscribe to True Crime Series for more cases that expose the darkest corners of human nature.